Today, travelers, we are talking about glaciers. Have you ever wondered what are the places you can see glaciers in Alaska? Or, what are the best ways to see glaciers if I'm going to Alaska? Can I go on a kayak? Will I see them from my boat? That is what we are talking about today on Vacations Live. Join me for everything about glaciers in Alaska. Hello, travelers. I am Mandy Horn with Global Dream Vacations and the Traveling Compass, a travel advisor helping you make the best global memories. And today we are talking about Alaska. So I absolutely love Alaska for all kinds of different people, but especially for groups that want to travel together. This is an amazing way to see Alaska is with like your friends and family. And so we do a lot of multi-family or multi-friend groups that go to Alaska. And there's just some amazing things that everyone loves. Like it's kind of hard not to love or find something for everybody on this kind of a trip. And one of the things that people go to Alaska to see are glaciers. And that's what we're talking about today. All kinds of things about the best glacier experiences and where you might see them, especially the most common ones that you might encounter on your itinerary, especially if you're going by cruise, which is the most popular way to see Alaska. So that is what we are going over today. So I'm super excited. I have all kinds of fun glacier photos for you, and this is just going to be just a lot of fun. So, all right, so let me pull up my maps, okay? Because I'm a map girl. I don't know about you all, but I love maps. So we are starting today. Okay. We are starting today on the very north side here of Alaska. And this is where we will see, this is where if you were going on a one-way Alaska cruise, this is where your cruise would end, is typically up by Whittier. And we are going through some of these northern experiences. We're going to start off with College Fjord. Now, College Fjord is really cool. There's tons of glaciers there, and it was named, like College Fjord, why colleges? Okay, so it was named from the Harry Men expedition that explored it, that was funded by Ivy League colleges. So when they named the different glaciers, they named one side of the fjord for women's Ivy League colleges, and they named the other side for men's Ivy League colleges. And it is said that they had a little bit of a bias and they took great delight in excluding Princeton. But all of these different glaciers have Ivy League names, and I'm going to take my map down here and I'm going to show you a beautiful picture of College Fjord. So here we go. Ready? There it is. So this is actually Harvard and Yale Glacier, no Princeton. And what you'll see in College Fjord is that it's just like glacier after glacier after glacier after glacier with this beautiful mountainsides. It's a beautiful way to see it. Normally, if you're going to see College Fjord, you're going to see it on a one-way northbound cruise because it is so far over on that map. I'll pull that up again. Because it's so far over towards Anchorage, usually if you're on a round trip, you don't end up seeing like a round trip out of Seattle cruise or that kind of thing, you don't end up seeing this, but because it's so far northwest. But it is fabulously beautiful and one of the highlights of a trip for people who love to see. Like there's actually one spot in College Fjord where you can see 8 glaciers at once. So if you want those panoramic glacier, College Fjord is for you. And normally, like I said, this is seen from your cruise ship. There are like smaller boats that sometimes will depart from ports near, Anchorage or Whittier to go see this, but typically it's seen by a big cruise ship if that's how you're coming. So next up is going to be Hubbard Glacier. So Hubbard, you can see it on the map here, is a little farther, coming a little bit farther south. And this glacier, let me pull up a beautiful picture of Hubbard Glacier here for you. Okay, so this is Hubbard Glacier, and it is known as the Galloping Glacier. Why? Because it is actively calving and advancing. It's one of the few glaciers that is actually advancing. And so it's actively calving, which means the ice is falling into the water. as it moves forward. So it is actually known as the Galloping Glacier. It is 76 miles long and the largest tidewater glacier. So absolutely beautiful. I'll just bring it up one more time. It's known for its gorgeous blue hues. Okay. So now as we go along, if you're like, yep, that's my glacier, leave me a comment. Okay. And tell me, oh, I would love to see this one. This is the one I really want to see, because everybody wants to find the glacier experience that's right for them. So make sure you're leaving me a comment if you're like, oh, that's the one I want to see. But Hubbard is absolutely beautiful. It's usually seen like from a cruise ship or from, there are some small boats that do go out and to see it depending on how your cruise is set up. And this one is most often on southbound one-way cruises. So that's typically where you're going to see Hubbard Glacier on an itinerary, but it's known for those beautiful, beautiful blue hues. I mean, it's so photogenic with those blues. It's really, really pretty way to see a glacier. Next up is kind of a Big Mac Daddy of glaciers, and that is Glacier Bay National Park. And now Glacier Bay is known for Marjorie Glacier, and let me bring that up here. So here is Marjorie Glacier and Glacier Bay National Park. Now, the national park is typically the highlight of a cruise itinerary as you are sailing Alaska's Inside Passage. So these glaciers, I'm sorry, I should just leave it up there. I mean, it's prettier. So like absolutely beautiful. And in Glacier Bay National Park, what you'll see on your cruise is it's typically an entire day of scenic cruising through the park. You usually don't go on land to see it, but you're seeing it from your cruise ship. And what most often will do is people will go up to the main deck, unless they have a private balcony, which, let's face it, is an amazing way and very popular way to see Alaska. Reserve early if you want your own balcony. But they go up to the main deck and there'll be open air. And they'll usually bring park rangers on board, which is super cool. And they'll actually narrate as you go through the park the things you're seeing. You want to make sure you bring your binoculars because you can be looking for, they're kind of small because they're on the shores, but you can be looking for animal sightings like bears and especially seals that love to come float on the little icebergs that tend to be out in the water. So it's really fun to bring your binoculars and look, and they'll often serve like hot coffee or hot chocolate. And so you're just drifting through this absolutely beautiful national park, with your warm beverage, listening. They usually do some really cool things for young kids or teens on board. Like they actually have a junior park ranger program, which is really fun, brings the kids into what they're seeing and just ups the wonder and amazement of this park. Now, this is one of 62 national parks with national park in the name. Sometimes that's on people's bucket list. We do talk to a lot of people that are they want to go see all of those big national parks, and this is one of them. So it's an amazing way to see it from your cruise ship or from your private balcony, which, is always a fabulous way to see anything. So let's go. Next up, we are going to see Dawes Glacier. And this, I'll come over here. Okay. So here is, this actually isn't of Dawes Glacier. This is just of Tracy Fjord. This is very often on round trip cruise itineraries. So Dawes Glacier is in Tracy Fjord. You'll stop there, but this area is really known for stunningly beautiful waterfalls, and fjord cruising is really just amazing. And what a fjord is it is like, you'll go through a narrow sea inlet and it's sheer cliffs on either side of you. And so you get this feeling like you're just like the scenery comes up close, right? And so and you're going through these beautiful waterfalls, all this natural landscaping. This area is known for some of the sheer cliffs and just the stunning beauty of that combined with the glaciers. And usually you'll stop here to see Dawes Glacier from the cruise ship. Now, so like I said, if you're not going as far north, like you're not going to the port, up at Whittier, or you're not going to mainland Alaska, this is very often one of your scenic cruising days. So those are the major glaciers that are often seen by cruise ship. Let's talk about where else you can see glaciers, which would be from port cities. Like I said, cruising is a very popular way to see Alaska because a lot of the ports are actually not super well, the port cities are not super well connected within Alaska. Alaska's very big, very spread out. And so getting from one place to another can be really cumbersome on land or even via air. It can get very cumbersome just because of how many cities there are and how spread out they are. And they all naturally really work pretty well with cruises. So like it's a very convenient way if you want to see a lot of Alaska. So let's talk about where you will see them on major ports. So I'll bring up a new map here. Come over this way. Okay. So coming in, we've talked about Glacier Bay National Park, where that is. Now we're coming into some of the more popular cruise ports like Juneau, Skagway, these areas. They're kind of all kind of tucked in there, and we're going to talk about those. So let me bring up the Mac Daddy of Glacier experiences. Boom. Here it is. Okay. So this is Mendenhall Glacier, and if there's one glacier that is famous and known worldwide, it would be Mendenhall Glacier, okay? And this one is probably the most visited glacier. Maybe it's the most visited glacier in America. I don't know about the world, but it is the most visited glacier in America. And I'll bring up another really cool photo here for you of it too. Okay, isn't that gorgeous? So Mendenhall Glacier, because it is so accessible, it is in fact the only glacier accessible by road fairly easily. To go see it. And so it actually has a whole visitor center devoted to it. The Mendenhall Glacier made National Geographic's 500 of the world's greatest trips. Like, that is how big a deal Mendenhall Glacier is. So one really unique thing about this glacier is that, like I said, you can see it by bus, which does allow some different access for people who maybe have some mobility issues or maybe young children. It makes it very convenient to being able to see this particular glacier. But you can really see Mendenhall Glacier in so many ways. Like I said, you can see right here, there's the water access to it. So there'll be boats, Zodiac boats, rides that combine with animal trips, like if they're trying to do wildlife, so you can see the glacier and go see wildlife. If you want to kind of combine both, you can hike and see it. You can kayak, although sometimes some of these experiences too, you have to understand Alaska is also famous, maybe more infamous for its weather. And sometimes you do get fog and other things that block your view of the glacier. So if you're planning some of these experiences where you're more in the distance, like possibly a kayak or other things, you might be more difficult to see the glacier, or you may not be able to even see it that day, but you can see it by canoe. You can see it, you can go whitewater rafting and catch glimpses of Mendenhall Glacier. And very, very popular is the ability to see it by helicopter, to actually fly, go and land on the glacier. And once on the glacier, there's differing experiences. You can just walk around kind of with your pilot. Sometimes you actually do like ice trekking if you're really adventurous and you want more. And you can even also helicopter to the glacier, have a glacier landing, and then go with sled dogs on the glacier. I mean, truly bucket list, crazy experience to get to do. But there's so many different ways. Mendenhall Glacier is very, very accessible. It's why it's one of the most visited glaciers in America, and you'll see it from Juneau. That is typically where people go to see this glacier. And so as you're ported in Juneau, if seeing Mendenhall Glacier is a big deal to you, that's where you'll want an excursion to go see it. Now, I would say that this is also one of the more, has some of the more affordable options to go see glaciers. Helicopter landings and things can be a little bit pricey, and sometimes people don't want to do that with a large group of people. They don't want to necessarily do a whole helicopter experience. And so if you're I really want a glacier experience to go see it, but I don't necessarily want to spend that much, then this is a really good way. This is the glacier to go do that, because there's some very affordable options for you to go see Mendenhall Glacier because of its access. So I would say though that most of the cheaper excursions do not include walking on the glacier. So if touching the glacier is something that's really important to you, you'll want to make sure that is in fact included with your experience. A lot of tours just see it, from a distance or whatever. But if walking on it's important to you, you really want to make sure that specifically is included in your excursion. But it truly is an amazing trip, and I understand why it made National Geographic's list. So an amazing, amazing way to see it. But if Mendenhall Glacier, it being so visited, it can be busy. That's something some people don't realize. So I actually, Mendenhall Glacier is part of Juneau's ice field, which is home to over 40 large glaciers, including Mendenhall. But other glaciers are also that are less visited would be Taku, Norris, Hole in the Wall, East and West, Twin Glaciers. Those all tend to be less busy. So we will often see helicopter operators are they're actually choosing those over Mendenhall so that there's more space. You get, like, if what you want to feel is like I'm landing in like remote Iceland, Mendenhall may not be for you, because I've talked to a lot of helicopter pilots who are like, yeah, you're landing and like there's like 8 groups all around you depending on the day or the landing site or whatever, and sometimes people don't, it's not what they were thinking, and actually sometimes it's better to go land somewhere else on the ice field on one of the less visited glaciers to do your walkabout or to explore. So something to consider when you're picking your shore excursion, like, do you have to see Mendenhall? Is that like, yes, I need to see Mendenhall and check off my list? Or no, what I'm really looking for is just this different experience. You may want to choose another glacier or a company that's visiting another glacier. I know I had a client actually ask me one time, they're like, why aren't we doesn't this one specifically go to Mendenhall? And their pilot advised it's because actually we're trying to improve your experience. We want you to be able to do this. And conditions that day they were able to go to were a little weird, and they were able to go somewhere the pilot knew on a different glacier to still get that experience for them. So just something to keep in mind, but that is another way you can experience them. Again, from Juneau, is the Juneau ice field. So Mendenhall is part of that, but there are much more glaciers if you want to see in Juneau. It tends to be a glacier kind of port. So then let me bring up here the couple to like last like glacier experiences. This is just a little photo here, and it's because it's one of the less visited stops, which would be Haines on an Alaska itinerary. This is Davidson Glacier, and there are excursions that do like you bus to where it is, maybe you do some canoeing, and if the conditions are right, you could kind of get out and, weather permitting, walk over and kind of touch it. That kind of an experience. But Haines is not, I mean, it's a port, but it's not on a ton of itineraries, so it's less visited, but also a very cool experiences. You can take ATVs actually in this area, and you're not again touching the glacier, but you can ATV and you're going through the wilderness, and then you get to see the glacier and you get glacier glimpses, which is just really, really cool. So that is another way to see it. I don't have a picture of this one, but another way to see this from a port, like I said, Haines was one. We were just talking about Davidson Glacier, but in Skagway, we're very close to Haines. Another way to see a glacier would be on the White Pass Railway. Now, this is a famous railway. It tends to be one of the most popular excursions in Skagway, is to take this railway up into the mountains. It's this gorgeous vistas, and you will have glacier sightings from the train. Now, it's not obviously like up close touching the glaciers, but you'll get to see them in passing. And so this is actually a great way to see a glacier if you like to stay warm. You're indoors and you'll get beautiful vistas, but you don't actually, and I think too, it's a great way if your kids are small, depending on how comfortable you feel doing other experiences with your children, or there may be age limits that prohibit them from doing some different experiences. That's obviously an easy way to expose them to, glaciers in a very controlled and easy environment for parents and grandparents alike. So let's talk about glaciers from the mainland. Now, like I said, a lot of people see Alaska by cruise, but combining a cruise with the mainland is a great way to get to kind of check all your Alaska bucket list things off. And for a lot of people, Alaska is a once-in-a-lifetime trip, and so they really want both land and sea. And on land, the most popular place that people want to go is Denali National Park, which is amazingly beautiful, very famous, and it is also a place where you can see glaciers. So one excursion you can do while visiting the park, I'll bring it up here, is a flyover. You can actually fly over Denali National Park. You can even fly over kind of the peak area as well, depending on how adventurous you are. But you can see glaciers through while doing your flight over. You can also land on a glacier in Denali National Park while doing the flyover and flight seeing. They do sometimes take helicopters to land on Yannert Glacier while in Denali. So if that is important to you, this is a place while you're at Denali National Park that you can go do that flyover. And it's an amazingly beautiful way to see the park and really get up over in this vast wilderness. The flyover is really cool. And you can also see, if you are going all the way up to, like I said, to Port and Whittier and go see Anchorage and Denali National Park, you will most likely go through Prince William Sound. So here you'll be able to see, you can do cruises from Prince William Sound to see the area of Prince William Sound, or I'll bring this up here as well. This is from the Kenai Peninsula, which is Alaska's playground. That's where they go to vacation. And you can, from those ports, like on the mainland, you can then go take scenic cruising, like smaller boats, to go see different things in these areas if you want more more glacier experiences. And also those tend to be, a lot of them are wheelchair accessible, which is really nice if you have some mobility issues. It allows you to see that. These are more, Kenai Peninsula is a little bit more off the beaten track, but if you really want to go in-depth Alaska and you want to go see some really unique things, it is drop dead gorgeous and an amazing addition to your Alaska itinerary. So some questions that you'll want to make sure that you are asking as you go to kind of pick your glacier experience. One, what is your physical fitness level? Now, some of these glacier experiences are definitely like out trekking, you know what I'm saying? Like on the ice. Sometimes they go in ice caves. So depending on your comfort and physical fitness ability, you may or may not want to do that. You may want to pick something that's easier, doesn't involve as much walking, that kind of thing. Or trekking. There are like helicopter landing experiences that it's just like a little walking about. It isn't like trekking. So maybe a better fit for you. Two, what kind of glacier interaction do you want? We touched on this a little bit before, but like I said, it's cold. I know that's it, but like sometimes people don't think like you're going to need gloves and warm clothing and all of that. And do you want to go do that experience? And is it important to you to like touch the glacier? Is it important to walk on it? Do you just want to see it from afar and get some beautiful photos? Do you want to be in a boat and kind of get up close and drive past it? Do you want a canoe or a kayak near it? Like those are what kind of experience do you want? And something to think through before picking which glacier, because some of them can only be accessed certain ways. Now, thirdly, does someone in your group need oxygen? I know this sounds silly, but there are some flyover or helicopter experiences that don't allow a passenger to have an oxygen tank with them. And since this is such a popular port or experience for even those who are young at heart, who may need some assistance with oxygen, it's something to consider because certain flyover experiences cannot have oxygen on board. Now, fourthly, do you have any weight restrictions? This is something with helicopters that sometimes takes people by surprise, or seeing certain glacier experiences. Passengers of size are sometimes uncomfortable because they may be restricted off of certain aircraft, and you do have to submit your weight ahead of time for a lot of helicopter or certain flyover experiences. And some people are very uncomfortable with that. And so because of that, they may want to choose a different glacier experience that they're more comfortable with doing. And then last question to ask as you're thinking about which glacier experience you want: how old is everyone in your group? There are sometimes age limitations depending on the boat experience or a helicopter or other things, where either young or old, it may not be the best fit for you. So you'll just want to make sure everyone in your group's ages and whether or not this experience will work for them. So glaciers are an amazing part of Alaska. I hope that you enjoyed my little preview of them. We do have a really special new resource coming out. It is going to land on my subscribers lists this weekend, actually. So if you want to get the best in global travel inspiration, make sure that you click the link in the description so that you can get on our weekly inspirational newsletter that goes out showing some of the best things in the world with our best tips and our best resources. Always go there first. So if you would like our new Alaska Group Planner, tons of tips, tricks, ways to organize your group, make sure that you sign up for that. It will be hitting first there this weekend. So click that link and enjoy. Travelers, it was great for you to join me today. We can't wait to tell you more about travel next time. So until I see you then, make sure that you are traveling smart. It was great to see you today.